The female lead tells women's stories. Remarkable, diverse, inspiring. An educational charity promoting positive female role models who show the many different routes to success and fulfillment.
So often I hear people saying, oh, how do I get started? How do I do this? How do you do it? You just start. You have to begin. And it won't be perfect, and it'll be messy, and it'll be hard. But you're doing something, and you're on your way.
Empowering future generations of women through films and a book of 60 women donated to 18,000 schools in the UK and USA, reaching millions of young people. And through our female lead societies, we help girls to discover new role models that speak to their passions, ambitions and careers. Through our research into social media and mental health, we found a solution to the negative impact of social media on teen girls. Through a simple intervention which encouraged girls to follow different influencers, we were able to change their entire social media experience and sense of well-being. We called this campaign Disrupt Your Feed, and it reached 20 million people on social, with 330 million impressions all over the globe. So what's next? As well as inspiring girls, we're now finding ways to measurably improve the lives of older women through data, research, and the stories of those who have overcome challenges and found their own personal versions of success. We're a long way from being finished. Join us in our mission.
Are we going to talk about women's rights again? Yes, we're going to talk about it until there's balance.
Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Female Lead Guide series. We're going to be talking about entrepreneurship today. And we've got the fantastic Caroline Britton joining us. Let me first introduce myself. I'm Edwina Dunn. I'm the founder of the Female Lead, which is a charity that showcases amazing, diverse women, women who are shaping the world today. So we're going to find out, are women approaching entrepreneurship differently to men? What skills do they need? How do you get off the fence and take that big step? Caroline runs a very popular Fear to Founder program, which I've been involved with and had a look myself. It looks wonderful. And this helps people transition through the mindset blocks and fear of leaving the corporate world and stepping out into this scary world of starting a business. So welcome, Caroline.
Thank you so much for having me.
So we're going to kick off with a question. Let me just remind everybody, you can get involved, you can ask questions, and we will put them up as the title is shown towards the end. So please do send them in and we'll keep watching. So Caroline, probably now is a time when more and more people are thinking, should I be starting my own business? Maybe I have to start my own business because I'm not working now. What made you take that leap? How did it feel?
So I think very similar to lots of other people, I kind of went on that treadmill of going to university, going to the working world. I had a job working for a management consultancy, and it kind of ticked the boxes of what I thought I should do. And then I think life had other ideas for me. And it was actually after the birth of my second child that things started unraveling. And actually it became more and more apparent to me that I wasn't following what I truly desired to do. I'd always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I'd always wanted to use my creativity. I'd always wanted to fully step into my gift. And I think, like a lot of people, I was succumbing to the fear-based stories of, well, how am I going to pay the mortgage? I've always been in the corporate world. How do I run a business? And actually, eventually, I kind of took the leap and started my own business and have navigated all of the emotional, as you well know, the emotional things that come up, the mindset blocks, the self-worth, a lot of things that we have as women, to get me to where I am now, which is running a very successful multiple six-figure coaching business.
Brilliant. Well, we talked a little bit last week, or was it the week before, about imposter syndrome. So perhaps we won't revisit that. But I was very interested in this idea of being comfortable. And actually, should we be comfortable too much, or should we get ourselves uncomfortable? Do you want to explain that?
So I really like people to challenge their relationship with fear. What we tend to do when we feel uncomfortable is back away from it. And actually, I want people to embrace the discomfort. It's not a bad thing to be scared. It's actually usually a sign that you're expanding into something that's important to you, that has purpose, it has meaning. But what we often do is we come up with the fear and we come up with the discomfort, and it's so much easier to backtrack and pull ourselves back into the comfort zone and start. I see this with a lot of clients, start that dialogue with ourselves, which is, you should be happy where you are, you're lucky to have a job. Don't rock the boat, don't ask for more. And actually, what I want to encourage people to do is to expand, to ask for more, to get uncomfortable, because the rewards on the other side are so great.
Yeah, I remember that really scared feeling, and it does make you feel sick. And sometimes, I mean, I think you have to be able to sleep through it, don't you? You have to be able to go to sleep at night and actually not just process it. The thing that amazes me is that 40% of young people, when we do research, want to start their own business. I mean, that was a while ago, so that may have even increased. But what stops them doing so? Is it right for everyone? Is it nature or nurture being this entrepreneur?
It's a good question. Is it right for everybody? Probably not. And it's not saying that everybody should be an entrepreneur. I think there's lots and lots of values about the corporate world that we should recognize. But I think you have to start with being honest with yourself. If you have a burning desire to set up a business, there's a reason for it. And the key thing is to address the mindset blocks. Usually what I find is people have the talent, they have the capability, but it's the stories they're telling themselves about why they can't do it, about how they're not that kind of person who can do it. And actually, that's the bit that you have to address for anybody who's starting to think about setting up their business. Start recognizing the fear-based stories you're telling yourself. Start recognizing the limiting beliefs you have about yourself, the way the world works, the way money works. And when you can deconstruct that, this is when it becomes a real game changer.
So I love this, and I love the 5 steps that you talk about that really propel you forwards. I want to just recap the skills that you've called out as well, because I think it's really nice for people to hear the kind of skills that sort of separate real winners in this, and kind of identify them. So really resolute motivation and passion, self-discipline, obviously risk-taking, creative thinking, and throughout persistence. So which of those do you want to just showcase a little bit?
Oh, great question. I think it's the self-belief and persistence. So I think if you look at anybody who has made it or who you perceive to have made it, the difference between them and others is that they have had such belief they've kept on going. So if we look at somebody like J.K. Rowling, who was rejected from was it a dozen publishers? Or we look at Barack Obama, who had every reason to believe that he would never be able to be a president because of the color of his skin, to Jim Carrey, who lived in a van and didn't have any home when he was applying and auditioning. These people have incredible stories, but there's something within them that just had the belief that they could do it. And no matter what happened, they held on to that. And I think that's the fundamental bit, because you're going to face challenges and it's going to have bumpy bits. But if you can hold on to that vision, and a vision's really important, anchoring yourself in what you know is possible. If you can hold on to that, then you can weather all of it, and you will always get there. You will always get there. But it's holding on through the stormy seas of it.
Yeah, things that I've always been told is it takes longer and it costs more money than you think it's going to. But if you can handle that, and you've got the time, and you don't spend too much, as you say, you can get there. It just might take longer. So it's really, that's a really good steer. So how do we transition through fear? How do we, leave this wonderful, comfortable blanket of the corporate world? What are the steps that you help people walk through to achieve this? I think the first one is, as you've already mentioned, is mindset. Would you say a little about that?
Yeah, I think the key thing with fear is to not shy away from it. So there's an exercise that I always encourage people to do, is let fear write to you. Let fear write to you and say, what are you doing? Thinking about giving up your job? What about your pension? What if this happens? What if it doesn't work out? What about your career? I mean, I did this as I was leaving my consultancy, and the list, a couple of pages, of everything it could think of. Let fear have its say. And then approach it with your neutral mind. Approach it as if it was going into a court of law and say, well, actually, is that technically true? Do I know it won't work? Do I know I won't be able to do what I want? It's really, really important to challenge it. And then what I always say is, then I want you to write back from whether it's love, soul, whatever you want to call it, your gut, your higher self, and write back and allow that to flow through. And then ultimately you have a choice. I always think you get to pick one letter. You can keep the fear letter, or you can keep the love gut letter. And it's amazing. I went back and read mine from about 4 years ago. And I think, thank goodness, when it was all so uncertain and I had no idea it was going to work out, thank goodness that I decided to honour that love letter. So that's a great exercise for anybody who's watching.
Yeah, writing yourself a love letter, that's a good discipline for anybody to have. Yeah. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, which I really like the sound of, is follow the joy.
Yeah.
Not the money.
Yes, we always do this. It's interesting. I have clients come to me and they might have left the corporate world. They've set up on their own and they tend to go into something related and it's not working out for them. And I'll say, well, is this what you really want to do? You've become a marketing consultant. And they say, well, no, actually, I love photography. So I said, well, we talk about that. Why are you not doing photography? Follow the joy, follow what lights you up, and the money follows. And it's amazing. I've had many clients do this. As soon as they pivot it to what feels good and aligned, the money comes in. Don't come at this as what's going to make me money, so I should do this. Come at this feels right. I've got a feeling about it. It feels good. It lights me up. Then everything will come in to support that.
So then the third one, and I have an equivalent in my world. I call it analysis paralysis, where you just keep analysing all the data. But you call it the perfectionism thing, which is where you just keep planning over and over again and you never get going. And I think we saw in the clip, Ava DuVernay, one of the female leads, who says, you just start. You start anywhere. You start.
Yeah.
So can you say something about that?
Yeah, so I think there's three things that I see with people who are looking to set up a business and they're not getting much forward movement, is they tend to be caught in one of three things: complete inactivity, procrastination, or perfectionism. And all of those are rooted in a fear of failure. That's what underpins all of it. And the thing is, you can't think yourself into success. you have to do. You have to get into action. I love this analogy that kind of comes to me. I feel when you're building a business, it's like, you know, those little wooden blocks you get with kids and they're stacking them. And at first everybody thinks that you're playing and she'll soon get bored and, oh, isn't that sweet? And then you're just patiently building your blocks with your business. And then all of a sudden you get a tower and it gets taller and taller and everyone starts noticing and saying, where did that come from? And that's the attitude to have with your business. You are building blocks. If every day you can be doing something in the direction of where you want to go, something, I think, if you can do one thing that feels slightly scary each day in the direction of your dreams, after a year, you've done 365 things, and that's a lot of blocks to start building.
Yeah. Scaring yourself, I think, is very wise. Not all the time, but some of the time. I also like your talk, your focus on clear financial goals.
Yeah.
And I like the idea that you move back from what do I have to earn? Therefore, what must I charge? And I think that's something that's often very forgotten.
Yeah, I think we should be empowering ourselves with this knowledge. I think that's one of the things that we often shy away from, is looking at the finances, looking about how we can facilitate it. I think get really clear on your finances, work out what's the minimum you need to bring in, whether you need to have a certain amount of savings, what feels comfortable for a safety net for you. Knowledge is power. And even if it feels a bit messy and you've got credit cards and everything all over the place, get really, really clear on where you are now, what you need to facilitate the move forwards. And another thing I'll add in here as well is that when you're doing that financial planning, I really encourage people to price their big dream vision. So I'm all about anchoring yourself into an emotional reason why. So, you know, if you say, I want to have a great business because I want to make loads of money, that doesn't really have an emotional anchor. What does that money give you? How does it make you feel? What does it enable you to do? And it's stepping into that vision of your future self. And I think that that is a really good motivation for people to get moving forwards.
And I really love that you say, believe in what you do and don't give anything away for free. Because, you know I've often been asked for free trials. You know, can I play with it for a while? Can I, and at the end of the day, that's a trap, a waste of your time and an insult really to your skill.
Big thing with women, and I notice this a lot, particularly in service-based industries, is that women could have spent 20 years in a career getting all this experience in the corporate world and also personally. And then they make a transition to become a coach or do something like that, and they won't charge for it because they say, well, I've only got 3 months experience. And I always say, well, you don't. You're the sum of your collective experiences. People are paying for the experience you've had in the corporate world. They're paying for the experience that you've had as a mother, as an empath, as whatever it might be. So this is the most common thing, is that we shouldn't undersell ourselves. Charge your worth, and people will always perceive you at the level you perceive yourself. So really start working on stacking your belief in yourself, what you have to offer, how it can change and contribute to the world, and people will feel that off you.
Very good, very good. And it's like the Picasso signature, isn't it? It's £1 million for a Picasso signature. It took him seconds and all of his life to hone his art. Yeah. And of course, you say invest in coaching or mentoring. And, it's a lonely job being an entrepreneur. It's a lonely job being a CEO. And so, having someone make sure that you're looking after yourself and supporting you, it seems like a wise investment. If something that you can kind of say, I can do without, probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah, I think, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we are sadly fast running out of time. So I'm going to turn to people for questions, please, because I've had my free run with you and I want to see if anybody, I've got lots more questions, by the way. So I think it's just seeing what's out there. Lovely. Chloe, how do you use your old experience to market yourself in your new adventure?
Okay, so I think it's fully owning the brand of you. So try not to compartmentalize what you're offering from yourself. I think that it's about really tapping into your collective experiences, all of the things that you have to offer, and bringing that forward. So don't be afraid to be seen fully for who you are. That's a really, really important thing.
So all your dimensions, everything that you've done, and laying that out. Yeah.
Absolutely. And making sure that you are really clear, even if you can't see direct synergies between your old experience and your new adventure, understand it's all contributed to making you the person that you are. So try not to undervalue that. Make sure I'd recommend stacking. Sit there and write all the ways that your old experience has contributed to making you the person that you are, and how people can benefit from that, and then use that in order to move forwards.
Nicole, how do you overcome the money aspect? Needing to pay the bills, get a loan. That's the really practical catch-22, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the most common thing that we see with people is the fear of money. That's something that really holds us back. So please, first of all, make sure that you are working on your money mentality. Books like Jen Sincero is a green book called You're a Badass with Money, is a very, very good book. And The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattle. So do the mindset work, first of all. The second one is getting really clear on your money, where you're at, where you need to be. And then also trying not to be sucked into the fear of if it doesn't work, and instead coming up with the attitude of it's only a matter of time before it does. And lastly, I'll say this, I like to break it down. So for instance, for me, when I was leaving the corporate world, I took the minimum that I needed to cover childcare and bills. And then I translated that to say, well, what income streams do I have coming into my business, and what would it equate to? So it would be 10 coaching clients, it would be 1 corporate workshop, 1 speaking event. And then that gave me a strategy from which to work from. So that's the first thing. And then I'm not sure about the get a loan. Is that tips on how to get a loan, or is it, I'm not quite sure there what she means, but if it is tips about how to get a loan, there's some incredible, I really recommend looking at NatWest. They do some great sort of entrepreneurial support as well. So there's loads of places out there that can help facilitate borrowing money in order to get your business up and running. And if you do have a business, we've obviously got the government bounce back loan at the moment as well.
Mm-hmm. So Callista asks, what are your thoughts on starting a business right now?
Okay, great question. I like to decide my version of reality. So I don't like to be sucked into whatever's going on kind of externally. I very much quite protective of my environment, what I listen to, who I surround myself with. So I think personally there's always a reason not to do things. But actually, this could be the perfect time. If things are opening up for you now, even if it's not in the way that you thought it was going to, and you have a hunch it's going to work, follow it. There will always be a reason. It took me 4 or 5 years to leave my corporate job. There was always a reason, whether it was Brexit, wait till my kids start school, I wait until I get another promotion, another bonus. There's always a reason. Just challenge yourself with that you're not letting your ego attach to external things in order to stop you. So if it feels right and it feels aligned, I would say go for it.
And this is another trap, isn't it? That you stay in the job because it's paying the bills, so you never actually have the energy and the time to properly get going with the new business. So you're hoisted by your own petards, as they say. And it's a difficult one. It was easier for me because when my husband resigned, I got fired. So we were both out of a job with a big mortgage, and it kind of forced me to start the business. It was terrifying, but
it's amazing how the universe interjects. Something similar happened to me, not quite like that, but I was due to get a big bonus, and it got pulled last minute, and I was completely reliant on it as a safety pot. But actually, it's the best thing that ever happened to me, because I was so terrified. I had no choice but to get into action and focus on bringing money in. So I kind of hit the ground running. So I'm actually eternally grateful that that did happen.
Brilliant. Nyan, can a non-corporate person become a business tycoon? There's a dream and ambition there, isn't there?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'd really encourage you to read Jo Malone's autobiography. I don't know whether you've read it. It's absolutely fantastic. And she talks about how against all odds she went on to become a business tycoon. I think she wasn't very academic. I think she was dyslexic. There were lots of things that could have come across as blocks. Anybody can become a business tycoon. You've just got to have the belief in yourself that you can do it.
Yeah, and she played to her strengths. She's actually one of our female leads.
I love her. I love her.
Fantastic icon for us, and you know, she's done it twice, hasn't she? So she's probably done it more times, but
she's an amazing woman.
Phenomenal. I'm sorry, Tejasri. Forgive me if I pronounce that incorrectly. How much experience should you have before starting a business venture? This is our last question, guys, I think. Sorry.
That's fine. I would say don't be prescriptive about it. This is another trap that we fall into. We think that we have to acquire a certain amount of knowledge, or we have to have done a certain amount of things. You just have to have the belief in yourself. You have to be passionate about what you're doing. You have to have the vision. That's more important for me. So don't fall into the trap of, I can do this once I've got this, because inherently that's linked to you feeling you're not enough as you are. We're always enough as we are. We're always enough as we are.
I love that. We're always enough as we are. That's a beautiful sentiment and strategy to live life to. That's beautiful and brilliant. Caroline, thank you. Thank you so much for your time, your experience, and the quality of your contribution. We are next LinkedIn Live is going to be with one of our other female leads, one of our icons, Clarissa Ward, and she's going to be talking to us about her new book, which is On All Fronts. It's the unforgettable story of one amazing journalist, a journalist shaping our world today, which is what the female lead celebrates. So do join us for that one. Until then, thank you, everyone. And especially Caroline, thank you very much for your expertise and openness.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.